Can you guys just talk so I know that I can hear you?
Hi,
And then we'll
Jess.
start.
Hello, testing.
Awesome.
Very
Great.
good.
Great. All right, let's start. So welcome everybody to our webinar today. It is hopefully going to be a series of webinars. Our topic today is Autism Spectrum Disorder. So a little bit of housekeeping and a plan of how we're going to run through today's session. We're going to go over some questions that we've compiled from our audience, but also from frequently asked questions in the clinic. So we're going to go over those as we're running through the session, but please feel free to chuck some questions into the chat and I will try and look at them as I'm going along. And then there might also be some time at the end where we might answer any that we haven't covered as well, if we've got time. So just to introduce myself, my name is Jessica. I'm going to be your host today, and I'm one of the physiotherapists at XR Health. I have been a physio for 10 years. I have mainly worked in a private practice setting, but I love working with children. So the people that we see with XR Health are generally pediatrics. We do see adults as well, but it is more weighted toward pediatrics, which I absolutely adore. And I'd also like to introduce our other two panel members today. So we have Tung. Tung has been a physiotherapist for 8 years. He's also been our lead physio for 2 years. Welcome, Tung. And Claire is one of our physiotherapists. Claire is a psychologist, actually. She has a broad experience working with children and adolescents. So I'm very pleased to welcome Claire as well. We might start just by introducing a little bit about our company. So I might have you take that away, please, Tung.
No worries at all. We're from XR Health, the Australian branch. Our company is actually founded by an ex-Israeli fighter pilot, which is pretty cool. It was actually pretty interesting how he came up with the idea. Uses a lot of virtual reality in his training as a fighter pilot. And at some point, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, he had injured himself, I imagine, while training, and was doing a bunch of different physio exercises, and then thought, it would be pretty cool to combine virtual reality and physiotherapy. And so the idea was born. The head office is based out of Boston, and right now we have clinics in the US, Israel, and here in Australia.
And so we are based online. So all our consults are held via Telehealth online, and we have clinicians in most states of Australia. So Tung, could you also tell us a little bit more about yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love playing computer games in my very limited spare time. Love playing computer games. So, really enjoy using technology in my daily life. So being able to combine that love of gaming with my profession and my passion of being a physio has been awesome these past couple of years. And I think, being right into the sort of gaming world, I can really relate to a lot of the kids that we see, and that has been invaluable. Really enjoying my time so far.
Perfect. And also, Claire, can you also share a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been a psychologist for, worked in welfare for over a decade in kind of various settings. So schools, private practice, did a lot of prison work for a while, and then joined XR at the start of this year. But having kind of lived my online career life for the last few years, obviously with COVID, so have become a lot more familiar with tech based sort of stuff. So that's how my interest kind of weaved into starting with XR.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful being a physiotherapist and being able to work online? It's a dream.
And
so
a
being able to be and a psychologist, yes.
Well, I feel like
if I get that right.
Yeah, I feel like our bread and butter is exercise anyway. So it's not like we necessarily need to be there to help people exercise well. This is right up into, I guess, the forefront of what research supports, which is exercise.
Yeah, awesome. So if we then delve a little bit into autism spectrum disorder, so Claire, would you be able to just give us a bit of a description for those who are not familiar with the term or the abbreviation ASD?
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. So autism is a condition that affects how people think, feel, interact with others, and their environment. It is a lifelong condition, so it starts at birth and continues through a person's life. And every autistic person is really different, which is why it's on a spectrum. So hence the autism spectrum disorder. Yeah.
Awesome. And Tom, could you also comment on the physical side of ASD?
Yeah. So some of the things that I commonly see with kids and adults with ASD is decreased muscle tone, whether that be in their arms, legs, or a lot of the time in their core as well. And with that comes reduced endurance, reduced coordination, as well as very poor sort of proprioception. So what I mean by that is, like when you see a kid and they're kind of clumsy, they might drop things, they might bump into things a lot. It's actually because of their proprioception. So the ability for their body to tell their brain where exactly within space they are. So like, for example, if you're walking through a door frame, the brain thinks that the body is going straight through the middle, but actually it's veered off to the left. So that's that proprioception coming into play. So those are the things that I sort of commonly see and that I work on. I feel like part of that is also to do with, I guess, the sort of things that interest these kids. So a lot of the time, like traditional exercise and sports might not really interest them, and that really comes into play as well.
Great. Claire, would you be able to share with us what you like most about working with kids and adolescents with autism?
Yeah, sure. I think it's the creativity in them and in myself, kind of being creative around how to engage them, their interests. Luckily, I know a lot about Pokemon, which seems to have had a resurgence because it used
right
to
up
be
my alley.
to be a lot more Minecraft, but a lot of Pokemon these days. But I think, generally the creativity that you can use to engage with them, and I guess using VR is kind of like virtual play therapy, is how I've kind of described it to a lot of parents and clients. Which obviously engages the kids as well because they're right into gaming most of the time as well.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned much about the virtual reality side of things actually. So obviously we are a virtual reality company. Our company uses a headset remotely, which we access through a computer, and we will go into that a lot more later. But let's stick to something a little more fun. Tung, can you share with us your favorite success in working with these kids that have ASD?
Favorite success. Okay. Okay. The example of a kid who's quite clumsy. So I have one in particular that's in mind. And what was some of the stats? So he and his parents told me that he would bump into things and kind of hurt himself a little bit doing it and dropping things. I'd say like multiple times a day, like 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. And then after a period of maybe, I want to say 2 months of working together, so we were playing our games and working on proprioception and coordination and strength, that number went down to like twice in a week.
Wow, that's a huge reduction.
Yeah, really big change. And it's sort of an area that previous to this job, it wasn't something that I've worked on before, trying to reduce clumsiness, and being able to see that really drastic change was like, whoa, this is very, very cool. So that was a moment that really stuck in my mind.
That's awesome. And Claire, would you be able to give us just a brief insight into adults with autism and working with them via telehealth?
Yeah, sure. I used to see adults with autism in private practice in a face-to-face setting quite a few years ago, which is quite different, I think, to doing the telehealth kind of work. But with the adults that I see at the moment, it's a lot of, I guess, reading facial cues and sort of the nuances in communication, whereas with kids, it's a bit more about that just reciprocal communication. Can we talk about a mutual interest instead of one specific interest? And there's a lot more nuanced stuff for them to understand in communication with other adults that might not understand how autism kind of presents in adults as well, and the difficulties in reading kind of facial expressions and that sort of stuff. So it involves a lot around that, and then a lot of emotion kind of regulation. So teaching them, I guess, how to sit with their emotions or process their emotions as well.
And do you think that, would you say that it's easier for a person with autism to access their psychology via telehealth in some senses, or?
Yeah, from my experience so far, they're probably more willing to access it. I think some of that social anxiety that comes with, or the anticipation of having to go into a clinic, meeting somebody for the first time, and then, you know, kind of having to then also do therapy and get home and that sort of stuff. So I think telehealth allows them an easier way to access support from the comfort of their own home as well, which alleviates a fair amount of anxiety in, I guess, just initially engaging.
Yeah, that's sort of the feedback that I've gotten a lot as well is it's really nice being able to be comfortable at home and you know, see yourself or myself and one of our clinicians. Yeah, it's really good.
Because it is also quite prevalent mental health problems with children with autism, I've noticed. So they often have that comorbidity of having anxiety or often depression even. So I feel that having a telehealth service for them to be able to access is actually really great in that sense, because they don't have to deal with those steps of going out to see someone. And the other thing I'd like to drop in there too is the remote access that we can offer as well. So I'm definitely noticing that there seems to be a cry out for allied health in remote areas at the moment. Yeah, whether it seems to be COVID has caused it for whatever reason. And so I'm seeing kids saying, my physio isn't available, my OT is not available anymore, my speech has left, my speech, I can't access these services anymore. So we're having people arrive on our doorstep for that reason as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And we've touched on this a little bit, Tom, but can you share with us some of the physical and behavioural challenges you might notice during your physio sessions? Yeah.
So from a physical perspective, certainly that level of endurance. So some kids, you know, once you hit that limit, that's it for the rest of the session or even like the rest of the day. So you kind of have to know where that limit is so that you don't use up all of their energy, and whether that's physical energy from endurance or even just that social energy. Like I know if I'm going out and seeing friends and family sort of like a couple of times a week or something, by the end of the week I'm exhausted. So similar sort of thing where, you know, you want to time things a little bit, make sure that you don't overexert them physically and mentally. So that's something to look out for, and one of those challenges that we sort of need to figure out. And then certainly the other challenges that are less of a physical thing is, you know, trying to say communicate with someone who might find they've got high levels of anxiety in a social situation, and it's hard for them to answer a question really directly. You know, you really have to spend a lot of time getting to know that person, being able to connect, whether it be about you know, playing games, playing Pokemon. Funny you mentioned Pokemon, because I do play competitive Pokemon cards.
Competitive
yeah.
Pokemon
competitive
cards.
like actually competitive Pokemon cards. Haven't for a little bit, but I will get back into it.
And you laughed about me liking teapots.
Oh, well, separate discussion for a separate podcast maybe. No, Pokemon's cool, man. Like, anyway. Yes, so trying to engage with kids and build that rapport can certainly be a little bit of a challenge, but it's it's a good challenge. Like it's different to what we've done in the past, and being able to connect with kids and, you know, see when that connection happens is a very nice feeling.
Yeah, they do take a little time to thaw the kids that we get with the ASD, but once they do, it's really rewarding to be able to build that relationship via telehealth, because it is a little more challenging because you don't have those sort of tools that you can use in a clinical setting, and with physiotherapy, some of that is touch, and some of that is very important in your practice. But yeah, once you do create that connection with the child and the family, it is really rewarding.
And I think that's where our virtual reality tech and our games and our headset really come into play, because that's a way to break the ice as well, and to be in a realm that they're super comfortable in, which is tech and playing games. So that really helps break down those barriers a little bit faster, I feel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, how great is it being able to say, hey, we're going to play video games, and you can throw your physio exercises out the window. Not always, but often you can be like, all right, let's start with some games.
Yeah, that's it. You can see like the face lights up and like, oh, yeah, I'm excited.
It's so much funner, even for me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we were going to head to a demo of the headset now, but just before we do that, I just wanted to remind the audience to please pop in any questions that you have. So this is a nice moment for me to review those as well. So if you have any questions, please add them in, and I'll send it over to you guys to start that demo.
Yeah, cool. So today we've got Neha helping us out, and I'll be one sec while I log in and get the password from our helpers in the background there. So Neha, if you could get set up with the headset, and I'll get this password to log in properly. So the thing that I'm logging into is a program called External Control that we use from our computer. So the setup that we're going to have is going to be very much like what it is for myself at home when I see a participant. So on one screen, I'm looking at the participant on a telehealth call, and on my other screen, I've got sorry, I'm getting my password wrong, so now I'm getting confused.
You do that. I can keep explaining. So on one screen, you've got the telehealth call, and then on the other screen, you've got like a remote access, and we'll keep logging into his remote access. And what that allows us to do is kind of remotely control the headset, and we can also mirror what the client is seeing. So while we've got them on their telehealth call, we can mirror what they're seeing while we set up activities and do feedback and things like that. So this is the process that Tung is setting up for Neha at the moment. And he's in.
I figured it out. I forgot that I changed the password earlier to like a more normal password rather than like a password with capitals and numbers. And anyway, sorted. So this is what we're using. And if we could actually switch to that screen for us, awesome. So this is our program External Control. And what's great about it is that I can take control over the headset. You can see a few of our games here. And the first one I want to show everyone is called Balloon Blast. So with Balloon Blast, you get a whole bunch of balloons that show up in front of you. And you have to pop those balloons by slashing at them with swords. And what's really nice about this piece of software is I could use one of our presets, or I can go into the advanced settings and be really specific with the area that I want someone to be working within. I can change the speed and a few other options, like making them stretch across their body a little bit further, or have the colors of the balloons and the swords change. So I'm going to press start session, Neha. So I want to start that off now. And
can we add Neha into the screen?
Yeah,
thanks,
perfect.
Derek.
And I can actually mirror the headset and see what's going on within her game. So calibrating that, perfect. And it's starting, and I'm going to make sure that I don't get smacked. So you can see that we've got different colored swords and different colored balloons. And Niha, if you can't quite pop them, you've got to lean forwards that little bit more. So there is that certain amount of depth to this game. And it's really, really accurate. So this is where, we can work on things like that hand-eye coordination, the proprioception, like how far am I stretching forwards? Is what my brain is thinking, trying to slash that balloon, is that actually playing out with my body? So that's a really cool way to work on all of those little things. Can't quite reach it. So we can use that in those sort of ways, working on those physical aspects, but you can see we can work on the cognitive aspects as well. When those colors change, how quickly can you react and choose the appropriate color to pop those balloons? So we can work on all of those little things. What's nice as well is at the end of the game, and we'll be tracking all of this as well, is you get a bunch of stats for the game. So things like your reaction speed, your action speed, how smooth is your movements, how many mistakes you've made. And we can see how someone changes over time. What's nice is for a lot of these kids, because they've been playing games like, for their entire childhood, they're really used to that sort of like leveling up process, the stats of their character changing, is my strength going up? Is my agility going up? Mm-hmm. But we're just switching those things with reaction speed and speed. So those sort of numbers can really be motivating for a lot of these kids. It just makes a lot of sense. And some of the things that I might be looking at is, if I'm going for endurance, have I started with like a 2-minute game, and then in the future have we gone up to like 5 minutes, and are they handling it pretty well? So you can see we've got some stats there, really difficult to see from your end because it's all pixelated, but for the individual, it's really nice and clear to be able to see that. And you can track all those stats from our mobile phone application as well. Yeah, so you'd be using this a lot in like psychology as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not a physio, so range of motion, I don't really understand. But in terms of a psych space, I guess using it as a bit of an energizer, either at the start of session, so that kids can kind of get their energy out. Also, autism has a lot of comorbid kind of diagnoses or conditions as well. So ADHD is often one of those. And so, having a space so that the kids can kind of get their energy out, and then, maybe they'll sit and talk and do more traditional talk therapy sort of stuff for 10 minutes, and then we might do another activity, so that it's kind of changing it up and meeting their attention span and keeping them engaged. And I guess something with this game that's quite good as well is because, you can get combos. I've got one client that got 81 combos or something, and his attention just lasted the entire game. I was shocked because he's got autism, he's got ADHD, he's got anxiety, and he sat and he concentrated for the whole 4-minute game, I think, and was just awesome. So proud of himself. And so exploring emotions like pride, and then also failure as well, or making mistakes, because in a psychology space, that is really important. And with that black and white thinking that tends to come with autism and some of that competitiveness as well, it can be a good and safe way to challenge or explore some of those feelings and things as well.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So let's show you a different game. We've got another one called Color Match. And this one's a boxing game. So I'm going to set it up in a sort of similar way to Balloon Blast, where you've got different colored balloons and different colored boxing gloves, and you have to match it up. But you can see we've got 5 different game modules here, so we can actually utilize this game in a lot of different ways. And setting up our game area to be a bit bigger, speed. I want to turn on an option called dynamic speed. So it's going to get faster as Niha does well. And I'll click on Start Session Niha, and we'll switch to our view so we can see what she can see. Cool. So at the beginning of every game, it's going to calibrate to where they're standing. Perfect. So what's nice about having the visuals here of the participant as well as what we're seeing in the game, I can still observe Neha and her movements. And it's the same thing for all of our participants. So that way we can sort of give that feedback of, you're doing really nice straight punches. That's awesome. If we want to engage the core a little bit, let's get a bit more rotation through the body and, really tighten up through the core. Try and turn the body when you punch, Neha. Yeah, nice. So the whole time I'm feeding back about those different movements and what we want to try and aim for. And at the same time, they've got to really think about those different colors that are coming up. Do you guys tend to use this one much in psychology as well?
Yeah, this one's quite good for concentration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we share a mutual client that talks about building their stamina.
Yep.
Instead of endurance, they call it stamina, which I quite like. But being able to kind of build up their capacity for concentrating for longer periods of time.
Yeah.
And it kind of translates into being able to have conversations for longer, stay on a session for longer, engage in school for longer.
Yeah.
Which is always a nice kind of byproduct of something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I had someone say, I think their son's like attention span during a conversation might like wander. So the thing that they've just said, they can't remember. But then, being able to work on attention with the games like this and how long can we hold that attention? Can we hold it for a full 5 minutes? And then it actually does translate to that real life of, okay, I've got to concentrate on this conversation, and it works really well.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome job, Neha. 100%. Very good. Cool. So one other thing that I wanted to show everyone, and I'll let Claire sort of take it in a sec. I'm actually going to give you control over the headset, Neha, and we'll mirror and show what's going on. We're going to go into some meditation, mindfulness videos. So if you click on back to menu and then exit, and you'll get a little bit of a preview of what our platform actually looks like as well. So this is our portal when you first start it up, and I'll get you to go into mindset. So what are some of your favorites to use on mindset, or what are some of your participants' favorites?
So we call them stories because not many clients like hearing about mindfulness or meditation. So we call them stories. My favorite is the seals for sure. I watch that probably the most with the kids. I've got one adolescent client that loves the meadow.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Loves the meadow. Swimming with the dolphins is always cool. Yeah. Got some more like adrenaline.
Yeah.
Chasing kind of kids that like the hot air balloon.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. The Mount Everest as well.
Why don't we bring up the seals video, Neha, and we can sort of show everyone what it sort of looks like, and you can let us know a little bit about how you might utilize it with your clients.
So with these stories, so the clients don't have to move or anything. It's an immersive kind of view for them. They can look around,
Yeah, it's like a full 360 view. If you have it turn around, Neha, you can show everyone what that sort of looks like.
Yeah, have a look at all the other seals.
Yeah.
So with this one, I was talking a bit before about like fears and things like that. So fear of water, because this doesn't go into the ocean, you can kind of explore it in a way that, we stay in the pool, they can see the parameters of the pool, but still get to engage with animals. And there's a lot of research about how healing animal interaction can be and things like that as well, which is really nice to be able to do this in a virtual way. And if they are afraid of water, it's kind of sitting with some of that fear and being able to kind of teach themselves, I can tolerate this, I am okay, I am safe, kind of exposure, but without the danger of, them having to go swimming.
Yeah.
And then also a lot of the seals have quite different expressions,
Mm.
and getting the kids to, or adolescents or adults, if we're watching it, pick what seal they're relating to, maybe trying to read the facial expressions and how they're kind of behaving.
Yeah, they behave just like dogs, hey?
Yeah.
Like, I get immediately reminded of my dog.
Oh yeah, dogs of the sea.
Yeah.
And they're so cute.
Oh, so cute.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of that healing sort of energy that comes from these videos. And then, yeah, being able to relate to, you know, some of them are sitting on their own. Some of them are sitting in a group of the other seals. And I guess just trying to relate their experiences perhaps with social interactions or how they might be feeling, and getting them to relate it to that, and then being able to use that in discussion
Awesome.
in session.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, Niha, I think let's stop that video there. If you can pause and exit out of there for me. Perfect.
Thanks, Neha.
Yeah, thanks, Niha. You can take that off, hey? All good. Cheers.
I think we're back to me. Thank you, Derek, who's helping us with this podcast in the background. So I've just had a couple of questions come through.
Awesome.
One of them came through the Q&A function and the other one has come through chat, which is fine. So you can use either of those functions to message me so that I can answer these questions for you.
Yep.
I've just started a little chat as well. So hopefully you're getting some notifications of those messages, if that might direct you to where to look if you'd like to join the chat, or pop a message in there for me. The first question was around operating system. This person is using Linux, Linux.
Yep.
I don't know if I pronounced it right. As an operating system instead of Microsoft.
Yep.
And they're asking whether it's compatible.
Right. No worries. I'll take this one.
You can take
that. Yeah. So the good thing about our software, I'll explain a little bit. This is going to get a little bit techie to answer that, but the hardware itself is called the Pico Neo 2. So like other VR headsets out there, you've got like the Oculus Go, and a few other ones. Those are like, Oculus is sort of the main one. So we use the Pico Neo 2, and VR headsets, you can either, they might require you to connect up with a computer. The great thing about our headset is you don't connect it up with a computer. So all of the applications, all the software is preloaded on our headset. So you won't have to worry about like what operating system you're on, you know, what needing a powerful enough computer or anything like that. It's all just packaged in the headset, and all you really need is Wi-Fi. Yep. Hope that answers the question.
That was great. Thanks, Tom. And the second question was from a pediatric OT. And the question is, this person is interested in using it for one-on-one and small group therapy, and they're wondering about safety, particularly in group therapy. So I might take that one. And talk about our other services while we're here. So we offer physio, psychology, and also OT with the virtual reality headset, and also telehealth. So we do one-on-one with OT, and we also offer group therapy through the headset. So I'm one of the therapists that is offering group sessions, and it's called Connect, is what the app is called. And it is essentially a virtual chat room. So you enter we meet in the headset, and we generally run the sessions with 5 children and 1 therapist. Our age groups are generally between 10 and 13. Children with ADHD or ASD or both are attending, and it's a great service to offer. So the idea of it is to provide a social environment for the kids, to help them to improve their communication, to help them to be able to access such services from home. And the sessions usually involve lots of games, lots of organic conversation if we can drive it. And I have also started including a quiz, which the kids absolutely adore. So it's just a chance for them to show their skill and to compete with each other, and it helps them to learn to take turn and to listen to instruction. And yeah, it's generally just a really good time.
Yeah, we get a lot of really good feedback from our clients about it.
Yeah, I was just about to say they particularly like the quizzes that Jess is running
Yeah.
at the moment.
And
it is
I was going to say for
Okay.
that specific OT with if you've got your own clients in mind that you wanted to see, I think get in touch with us, officeau@xr.health, and we'll probably try and just tee up like a meeting sometime to sort of discuss like different options if it was like, you wanting to see your own clients with our headset. So yeah, get in touch, get a bit more information, and we can chat some more.
And Claire, you're also considering doing some sessions in the Connect app as well. Is that true?
Yeah, if
Yes.
there's space, the wait list for psychology
Oh
is
yeah,
long.
yeah.
But I
You're in high
have
demand.
I have intentions to do a mindfulness group, but for adults, and I guess kind of running through what mindfulness is and some different kinds of mindfulness down the track.
Yeah, awesome. There's also a question here that's just come through. What if a child is afraid of the headset?
That's a tricky one. Yeah.
Yeah.
In those sort of instances, I find we kind of just have to try it out. Like, just try it out, see what happens. And because a lot of the time, you, the parent, can tell us about those little strategies that you have to have, to overcome some of those fears. So that's invaluable, is your insights into this and how we can adopt some of those techniques. And that's where I think being in a larger team where I can chat with other psychologists like Claire, I've got this person, this is, they're afraid of the headset. What tips do you have for me? So yeah, if that answers your question, I think we just have to try it and see what happens and give it a few goes. And, a little bit, it is a little bit of trial and error there. And, I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and in the psych space, I guess we do use the headset and then also do kind of more traditional type talk therapy. So it's not imperative that we have the headset for psych sessions. And then it might be part of, if we're working towards them engaging in physio, because that's one of their goals, we can work on kind of, I guess, that an exposure to putting the headset on, or just doing it little by little so that they can kind of build up their tolerance and comfort with it as well.
I think it's important to note here too that we only offer virtual reality therapy for kids who are older than 10, 10 or older. So for the reason of being able to instruct them and generally just being mature enough to take on the headset.
And also just the size of the headset, like
the size of the headset.
It's kind of big in a certain extent, so you kind of have to be like 10 or over in order to fit it properly and safely. Yeah, that's another reason.
But yeah, in some instances, it's not appropriate to have the headset involved in the therapy. And so we offer telehealth sessions for those people. So I've had one in particular that I can remember who has ASD, who became a little too internal. So just would blank out and not talk to me because of his focus. So we tried it and we just found that it wasn't really working for him. So we've gone to telehealth sessions and we now do exercise via telehealth and he loves it. So
awesome. That's amazing.
I'm going to go to one more question before we move on. And the question is, can you set it up as a traditional computer game?
Can you expand a bit on what you mean by traditional computer game? Like,
I think I get this question a lot. I think it is implying that you can play other games on the headset.
Right. Yeah, no, it's just the games that we have loaded on there. It's our software. So part of that is because our product as XR Health, the VR headset and the games, it's a TGA registered medical device. And it's because we do have those options of being really specific on how the game works and the information it provides us. So if we allowed other third-party games that didn't have that therapeutic benefit, I don't think would be considered a medical device anymore. So we are very specific there. So unfortunately, no traditional games on the headset. Hopefully that answers the question.
So there's been an elaboration here. They've said avoiding the headset. So I think meaning that we can use it as a video console instead. I think that's, and this person might also please clarify. Yes, she's clarified as yes. And so the answer to that is no, because it's not an actual gaming console. Everything's in the headset. So there's nothing that comes with it. You just get your headset. I was just looking to see if I've got mine free. Yeah, and your 2 controllers, and it's all driven
by the headset hardware.
By the headset. Yeah, great. That was awesome. Thank you so much for all your questions. I will look to a few more at the end. That was great. So I just wanted to ask you a little more about how we're using the virtual reality. I'm not sure if we've covered this already, Tung, but maybe talking about benefiting the children particularly with ASD.
Yeah. So I touched on this a little bit earlier about, the things that we commonly see is reduced muscle tone, strength, endurance, coordination, proprioception. So depending on which specific goal they have, I'm going to pick and choose which game, which application we actually will use and how we'll use it. Like, am I focusing more on the color switching? Am I focusing more on speed? Do I focus more on how long the game lasts for? So that's part of it. But then the other thing I feel like is using the headset to help build rapport, essentially. So a lot of the time, these kids, they don't gel well with traditional exercise and physio because it just doesn't really make sense to them. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I exercising? Like, I'm getting hot and uncomfortable and this is terrible. I don't want to do it. But
most adults.
yeah, exactly. But when you've got the headset and you're just like, we're gonna play some games, face lights up, they're loving it, and that can bring down some of those walls and barriers so that we can build that rapport and relationship. And the biggest thing for any person, adult, child, otherwise, if you're exercising, you need to have a goal in mind, right? You need to be working towards something. So a lot of the time, the kids, they don't quite have that goal in mind. So once I can build that rapport, however long that may take, we can actually start talking a little bit more like, what do you want to try and achieve? Like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to play sports? Do we want to just try and be a little bit more fit? Why? And the headset really helps with that to build that relationship so we can have that really important discussion.
I think too, when people put on the headset, because they're not looking at you directly, but you can still speak with them through, if it's in Connect, through the headset, but otherwise through the telehealth call, you're still able to engage with them the whole time, and it's a bit less confronting perhaps. And so I do find that, if they're wearing the headset, you can build that rapport because you can comment on what they're doing, or they can give you feedback and things like that as well. So I find the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just wanted to share too, like a general session for me, for my children that have autism, would involve some active apps like Balloon Blast and Color Match that were demonstrated earlier, to help them with their fitness and their coordination, those sorts of things. There's often a memory task. So we have several apps that test memory. There's reaction time is a highlight. So apps that make them punch really quickly. So a quick stimulus to help their processing speed in their brain, to help them to improve that. And then I often finish up with something that is for focus. So an app where they have to stop and focus or listen to help them sort of wind down after this session. Would you agree, Tom? Would you add anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty similar to how I like to structure my sessions as well. Do I do anything different? No, that's pretty similar, actually. I find that works really well. An interesting thing that I sort of figured out over time, and it probably would have been good to have you with us, like when we first started seeing kids, is being able to offer choices for kids, because like a lot of the time if you ask them to do something like directly, they don't want to do it. So it's like that oppositional defiance disorder. Did I get that right? ODD?
That is, yeah. Or, and even I think pathological demand avoidance has been
Yeah.
something that's come up a bit more
Yeah,
lately.
so instead of asking like, okay, we're going to do this now, like, what would you like to do? Would you like to play the balloon game or the boxing game? And, you know, having those choices is really helpful.
I think, sorry, I'm jumping in there, but I think as well for kids that have either selective mutism or are, you know, like mute to an extent, if you can give them a choice, they might be able to gesture aside or say repeat kind of a word, and they still get a choice, and then they can still engage. I think it's really empowering to be able to give that to you know, kids, adolescents, adults.
Absolutely.
While we're on that sort of topic, Claire, I know we've covered most of it, but can you expand a little more on using VR in your practice?
Yeah, sure.
Is there anything else to add? Yeah.
I think so we've got a few psychologists with XR now, and I think we all use it a little bit differently and rely on it in different ways. But for myself, like the energizers of Balloon Blast or the color match or things like that, a test like the memorize ones, a lot of clients love doing memorize.
Yep.
And you can make that more complicated really easily. And then sometimes the Relax 8, so the mindful kind of breathing, sort of. Sometimes I find that works in the headset, or we'll do it together kind of on the telehealth call in person. And then a lot of the stories that we watch, we can, as we're starting to explore what emotions are, and even social interactions like the seals and things like that, using that and then building off of that or feeding back during the session as part of discussion about what we've watched. And I'll add in other things like emotional literacy. I've got some like emotion quizzes and quizzes about thoughts, and kind of doing psychoeducation and then getting them to identify their own emotions and their thoughts and ways that they like communicating and that sort of stuff as well. And it's kind of, you build on it over however long it kind of takes to build rapport, and then see that therapeutic benefit as well.
I think this is a nice place to also mention their training plan. So they're seeing us on a regular basis. For physio, it's usually weekly or fortnightly, depending on their access and availability. How often is psychology, Claire, your sessions?
So either weekly or fortnightly.
Yeah, it kind of depends if this person is seeing us for a couple of different services. So we'll try and coordinate all of that to fit in nicely, and yeah.
And then during the time, so during the week or the fortnight that we're not seeing them, we can also set them a training plan. So we set the apps for them at the settings that we want them to play at, and so they can just go in and tick off their training plan. They can also access the apps freely as well, but it just helps to make it less complicated for them, basically, and then they can tick it off, and then we record that and we can go in and see what they've done. Yep. Which is great. Someone's just asked what times the sessions are. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, we've got we've got clinicians all over Australia at different sort of hours, so we actually have like times from early morning up until after school, and evening sort of times. It'll sort of depend on availabilities there. Our sessions are, for our initials and our first VR session, they're 1 hour long. That might not necessarily be face-to-face time, but because we've got to finish our notes and everything. And then 45 minutes allowed for review appointments. Yep.
And psychology is 50-minute sessions.
Yep.
Great. And just want to acknowledge that we're going to address this question that I missed earlier, which was talking about providing the headset, or do they purchase it, or is it possible to trial it?
Mm-hmm. So it is on hire for the duration of treatment. So yeah, it's not something that we would advise someone purchase a lot of the time. And yeah, it'll just depend on which particular, I guess, frequency works for you, and something that we can send some more information to you as well. I believe we would have everyone's email, so we can follow up with all of that information. and send you some of the details, because it's slightly different depending on like the person's like funding source, that sort of thing.
And generally, so we'll do for psychology, OT, and physio, you do first a kind of initial assessment, and we talk about are there any issues that might be worsened or might arise from having the headset. And so in that initial appointment or assessment, we're asking a lot of questions around that sort of stuff as well to make sure that the VR is suitable, and then the VR headset is sent out from our company.
Great. And how would someone sign up?
Yeah, so you can actually just go onto our website, xrhealth.com.au, and check out our info, or you can send us an email at officeau@xr.health. So there's a couple of different ways that you can sign up with us. Check us out.
Do you need a GP referral?
No, not necessary. But if you have a GP referral, you can send that along as well. But yeah, not necessary.
If you're going to do for psychology a mental health care plan, that will be with a GP referral, but you can always attend your initial session and then decide at whatever point that you want to get a mental health care plan. But yes, if you start off on that journey, then having a GP referral is a good way to go.
And if you want to sign up through NDIS, you just need to contact us in order to initiate that process.
Yeah. So give us
Tom?
give us a call, 1300. Oh, am I blanking?
907
815. Yeah, got there in the end.
1300 907 815.
Or send us an email, officeau@xr.health. And you can also get support coordinators and things to send us an email or give us a call, if that's a little bit easier from an organizational point of view. Yeah.
And we can see people privately as well, and through their health fund.
Yep, absolutely.
Also, absolutely great. So I'm just gonna finish off with a few more questions. There's one here. This will lead into our topic of our next webinar, which is around ADHD. So the question is, how do the applications help with ADHD?
A couple of different ways, I guess. It depends on, I guess, what perspective you're going to go with. Do you want to take that, Claire?
Yeah. So in psych space, like we've kind of mentioned a couple of times around that sustaining attention and focus, a way of kind of getting out energy. If they need to do that before kind of sitting down and concentrating for kind of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then, being able to, over time, increase their capacity to sustain attention and focus, and I guess hear details of what is being talked about in the session.
Like an example, I had one particular kid that I was seeing, and they could really only handle probably like 20 to 30 minutes in total within our session. Like, would play 1-2 minute games, have a chat, another 1-2 minute game, have a chat, and that's really all they could tolerate. And then by the end of that half hour, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, they're running around doing other things, and it was hard to sort of get them to focus back in. And then after a little bit of time working together, we could get through that like full 45 minutes, have like 5-minute games, have shorter breaks, and not have that running around quite as much. So that's sort of like a first-hand experience of the result. But yeah, I guess it depends on the person.
I'd like to add as well, I found this recently. I was actually chatting to a mum who's a teacher. She sounds like a really good teacher. She's a primary school teacher, and her son has ADHD. And we were talking about how he was finding a benefit from the program. And she said to me, we were doing exercise physiology with him, and all of a sudden his behavior was improving, his concentration was improving. So by participating in regular exercises, it was actually translating into those other aspects of his life. So, and I think there is actually research that supports this, that if you are improving your coordination and improving your proprioception and your strength and your endurance, you're therefore improving your confidence. So then you can actually express yourself better, and so you're motivated to focus and you're motivated to apply yourself to tasks and those sorts of things. So I found that really interesting, and after researching it more, there is actually research that supports that.
As you were saying that, I was having these other thoughts pop into my mind about like impulsivity and things like that. And I guess the games do also provide a different way of problem solving. You know, if they're trying to use that hand and it can't reach, they might have to use the other hand, or like Tung was saying to Niha earlier, you've got to lean forward a little bit more. And where some of these things, if you're able to slow down your thought process and actually problem solve, that's great. But if you're, you know, sometimes with that ADHD brain, it is going a million miles an hour. And so then having to slow down and problem solve makes that a challenge. And that can be something that they can kind of get out of these apps as well.
Someone's just commented, which I've asked them to explore a little further, similar to PMP, which occurs in some schools in the earlier years. I've just asked them what is PMP. Do you guys know what PMP is?
I'm thinking to like my days in aged care, where it's the pain management program, so that's not it.
Don't think so. If this person that's popped that into the chat, if you wanted to elaborate on that, it is I can share with the group. Doesn't look like.
Let's see if I can find something real quick. PMP in schools, was it?
PMP in the earlier years in schools. It might be some sort of program.
Perceptual motor program.
Sounds like something we should know about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I will be checking this out in between this and the next one.
My son is not yet at school, so it's been a while since I've been involved in schools.
Yep, I have a 1-year-old.
It's coming up.
Yeah, that's it. Improved. Oh, yeah.
Any other questions from our audience, Jess?
No, there isn't any there right now.
Cool.
So it looks like, and it's almost time anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a response. That's it. Working cross-patterning of the brain. Cross-patterning. That's a good point.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So there's some apps that I love using, where your glove is one color and then what you're punching is an opposite color, and they've got to work that out.
Yeah, because you can sort of start off with having the matching colors, but we can increase the levels and the difficulty. So one of the other options is having to punch the opposite color. So suddenly they have to switch their brain to having to focus on something else and do something completely opposite. And it takes a little while to get there, but you know, eventually they do. Yeah, I imagine that'd be pretty similar to what you'd be going for with that within PMP. Yeah, very interesting.
It's very effective too.
Absolutely.
Using those aspects of those apps. Okay, well guys, I think that's time anyway. So it's been so fun.
Yeah, this is really cool.
I've had a bit of feedback already that said it's been very insightful. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So we're hoping to set this up into a series of webinars, and we were going to do the next one on ADHD most likely. So if you are interested, if you want to send us an email through our office email to register your interest, or even if you're interested in suggesting a topic for us as well that we can explore, we'd be definitely open to that. That was awesome.
Thanks for hosting, Jess.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jess. Claire.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Derek, in the back there.
Yeah, and Niha. Awesome.
They've just a request to be able to access a recording of the webinar.
Yeah, yep. So we've got all of this recorded. It will be available on most likely our Facebook page at some point. So yeah, check out our Facebook page. It'll be XR Health Australia. And we can also, send out a link to the email as well.
And we've just popped into the chat our email and phone number as well, if you want to copy paste or write that down.
Amazing.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good day.
No
See ya.
See ya.